Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to the Newfane Selectboard meeting, Monday, June 17th, 6 p.m. We have myself, Angela Litchfield, and Katie Johnson-Aplin at the table. Mike Fitzpatrick on the phone, and Ann Golob was on Zoom.
She just closed off her video. She'll be back in a moment.
I'm here.
Okay, you are here. Okay, great.
I'm my dinner.
Has this meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. Additions and amendments to the agenda?
I would like to move from new business, the invasive plant treatment, to underneath the road foreman's report so that Jay is present and can discuss it before discussing it.
Great. Any other additions or amendments? Okay, going to the approval of the June 3rd regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
Is it okay if I second even though I left halfway
Yes,
through?
but you were there.
Yes.
Thank you, Anne. Any discussion? Sorry, I was reading. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Stay.
Thank you. And good evening, Jay. We're ready for the road foreman and commissioners report.
So the adjuster from the Adams Hill Bridge claim decided that she needed pictures and a copy of the paid bill, which I resent the email from January when she already got all of this. And I pointed out to her that she had this months ago and I've never gotten a reply back. So now that I have as of an hour ago, I got my email back, so I can follow up with her again.
Great.
We submitted the Newfane Village Sidewalk Grant. Colin from Wyndham Regional was very helpful in getting us through all the new requirements for the grant. Basically, they took that scoping study and they only want pertinent pages and they want just the pertinent information highlighted. And that seemed a little overwhelming to me, but he came up here and we sat here and he did it and he was great. So I'd like to thank him.
Great.
The new radar sign for West Street has arrived, and when we catch up, we'll be installing that. We're working through the easement and detour details with WW Building Supply for the Loop Road culvert. Ann and I had a meeting with Craig from MSK about the gravel pit phasing plan and discussed a proposal to finish the rest of the work and get the Act 250 application submitted, of which we have a proposal there. The recommendations from Sven Scribner for the South Wardsboro Road Bridge at Grout Road were to either dig up the existing wing wall and either replace or repair. So I spoke with Mike Renault about it, and he agreed that replacing would give us a better wall, finished wall. And that's a FEMA project, so we might as well have them do it right.
Mm-hmm.
The emergency grant for repairs to Stratton Hill Road slide has been recommended for approval. And once the signed grant agreement is received, we can put it out to bid. And the paving for Grahams Hill Road is out to bid for the next meeting.
Excellent. Is there a motion to approve the road foreman?
Make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
A second.
Thank you. Discussion?
The only thing I guess was discussing with Jay is he's pretty pleased with MSK for finishing the Act 250.
Yeah.
Seems like they're right on top of it, so I think him and Ann discussed it a little bit, but I think that we ought to really look at doing something like that, because get that thing through.
We might as well discuss it right now while we're at it, right?
Yeah.
I was really impressed with MSK. They've done this many times before. They were asking Jay and I all these very pertinent questions. They just really understood what needed to be done, and I think that they could do it really easily. The process has been delayed in some cases for due to our old engineer, but now we've got MSK finishing up the engineering report. Their process of submitting to Act 250 has gotten technologically more complex. And I know that this is something that Bill Jewell was complaining to Jay and I about vociferously. And MSK sort of has this down to a science on how to do it. So I would strongly recommend that we sign the proposal. The proposal says that it's an estimated cost based on an hourly rate, depending on how much work they need to do for us. That would depend on the cost. That is the same. We are also working on an hourly rate with our current expediter for the Act 250. So I think it's, we're not losing anything by switching midway. Yeah, I think it's what we need to do. And when we asked MSK to give us an estimate of when they thought this could get finished, they went through step by step each of the permits we still need to get, the process, the blah, 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 blah. He thought we could be up and running by next spring, which I know is still longer than what we had hoped for, but
It is,
boy, it's be nice for that to happen already.
but at least it's a date.
Yes, exactly.
So there's
also have
an amendment to owner consultant agreement here for signature.
That's correct. So I would make a motion to have Angela as chair sign that agreement for the town.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, ayes have it. I will sign that. Great.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone, for getting that done, and hopefully we can get it moving right along.
They're
All right, any
already
other, what's that, Jack?
making a difference. I said they're already seem to be making a difference with the plan they've put together for the phasing so far. It looks good. So
Well, you said something about the other one wanted you to truck out a bunch of the stuff.
right.
Well, do something else with it where this, you can use it right on the site and then truck it out later, so that saves you quite a few $1,000 right there.
Yep.
Time
Okay.
and money.
Anything else on the road foreman commissioner's report?
Do we need to talk about number 6, that talking about a new bridge?
FEMA project that gonna be coming
Just
out.
the wing wall. The wall at the edge of the bridge, the wall that kind of comes out at an angle, that's the wing wall.
Mhm.
It's just that part that got damaged.
But
So
you
they,
said it's a FEMA project, so you're waiting on them and then it will go out to bid?
no, we can put it out to bid at this point. FEMA's trying to come up with their own estimate, but it's okay for us to put it out to bid also because they'll change theirs if the bids come in higher than what they estimated.
So we should just go ahead and do that?
I don't know if we need to get. Do you know, Mike, for wing wall, does it need to be engineered or can it just be replaced as is?
Wing.
I think probably whoever could do it, replace it, then they would draw it up themselves anyways,
Okay.
It's pretty much, what it was just, it's just gonna have re-rod and all that in it. Probably the footing and stuff, so.
Okay.
Anybody that does that, pours that concrete, any of the bridge companies will give you that.
Does this need us to take any action to give you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Did you find out who did the damage on South Wardsboro Road yet?
I have a feeling it's Longview, but I can't swear to it yet.
Okay, you're just waiting on the homeowners to be there to find out? Okay. All right, anything else for the road foreman?
No?
Hearing none, all those in favor to accept the road foreman and commissioners report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain, ayes have it. Thank you for your
Thanks.
crew and all your hard work. And make sure to stay hydrated this week, it's gonna be a hot one.
I know.
What's that?
Don't leave quite yet, Jay.
Oh, don't leave yet, because now we're gonna move into, I'm going to turn it over to Katie, because she would like to discuss invasive plant treatment with Jay, so the floor is yours.
So, this spring, I was driving up Dover Road and happened to notice purple wisteria. Thank you so much, dear.
Did you get a response?
Letting in?
Hanging out of a, sorry, that was my husband, he just brought me
Thank you,
paperwork.
husband.
Hanging out of a white pine tree and an oak tree right across from the Newell's house on Dover Road. It's our FEMA-owned lots. And I have taken the time, and Jay has taken the time to go in and look at the lot ourselves to see just how involved it is. It has a lot of ground space behind the first row of trees against Dover Road. And then it's starting to go up, there's a mature oak and a big beautiful sycamore on the property. And it's starting to go up those. And this is something that will eat the entire grove of trees in a fairly rapid amount of time. It grows hugely and it strangles the trees and they die. So Jay said it was a plant that was on the property from prior homeowner. And it's been allowed to grow for 13 years now and is now climbing up the trees. So it is something that we need to take care of as the landowners. And especially if we want to use that space as park, as we're hoping to do down the road, because we want those big mature trees to provide shade.
And that's
for
one of
our
the best
residents.
locations too, right?
Maybe, it's a tentative one. I have put out some, I've written down some information. But the biggest problem is its proximity to the Rock River. We actually have to have a permit for removing invasives within 50 feet of a waterway. This is something that Jay is familiar with. He used to have the permits and let them expire after the greenhouse. But it's something that he pulled up the permit and showed me today, and as soon as he has his email back in working order, he will email that over to me so we can start that application process. There are only a few ways to take care of wisteria. It's a legume. There is a legume-specific product called milestone, I believe. And then glyphosate, I always get those two words confused. That also, or common names, Roundup, Garland, Rodeo. Wisteria is persnickety. You have to cut it and apply the stuff within 5 to 10 minutes or it will callus over and it will not kill the plant. So it's not a broad spectrum spraying that would be done. It would be a very pointed treatment on the base of the vines. And if you're willing, we will move forward with this.
I think it's fine to start the permit process to see.
I assume the first year, because you have to have a licensed person to apply for it. We may want to try hiring someone, whether it be the power companies or V-Trans person that actually does that. And then we still have to fill out the permit, but at least we'd have somebody's name to put in there now instead of waiting till somebody could get licensed to do it. Because the licensing will take a little bit.
Do you have somebody?
I can find out who they use.
So what is this stuff called?
The invasive plant,
Wisteria.
it's Chinese or Japanese wisteria. It's one of the two.
It's like a vine?
It's a vine and it's a strangler vine.
Yeah.
3 years ago, driving back through Delaware, I was there in April for my cat, you might remember. Driving back through Delaware, all along the roadway, wherever there were abandoned farmhouses, there were entire groves of trees, 40+ trees covered in purple flowers. It had eaten all of them. So this is something we need to get ahead of.
There's a lot of that on the buildings in London.
Wisteria? Yeah, controlled, it's fine.
I have
Uncontrolled
some.
or forgotten, it's not fine.
So maybe if you could look into that and maybe get the permit and we can move forward and see where we're at with that information at the next meeting.
Absolutely. I just heard back from them finally this morning, so I included the email in your packets, and you can read their direct words, which is, yep, so you're gonna wanna use the heavy duty stuff. But we don't actually worry about it here in Vermont yet, because it's not on our list of plants to contain.
So maybe call Mark for V-Trans, and I'm not sure who your contact would be through Green Mountain Power, to see who they have as a licensed person to help us get started.
Yeah, I'll see who they use.
Okay. And then get started.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful plant, I have one.
They're beautiful, but they're not so beautiful hanging
For
out
trees.
with trees.
No.
It's like bittersweet wine.
Right, yeah.
All right, anything further on the invasive plant treatment?
Only that if we do this, we'll be able to start treating some of our knotweed that's all over the roads, without grief, which is a bonus because we need to get it under control. At least a little bit because it's blocking line of sights tremendously.
Right. Okay, so that will be in the works. If there's nothing more, we'll go to the administrative assistance report. Good evening.
Thank you, Jay.
You're next. They're after you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Angela and Katie, the RSVP was returned for you to attend this Friday's June 21st Regional Policing Information Meeting at the Sheriff's Office, so you're all set to go.
Great.
Carol has approved the Fat Crow liquor license renewal and the outside consumption permit. That is a revenue for us.
Great.
The recent training for designated employer representative, the DER, was very educational, and with the new regulation requirements, I'd like to ask Jay for his help to schedule time for each of the road crew to complete online registration documents with me by the middle of July. To date, no application for the highway position has been received using the VLCT classified listings. Do you want me to place the ad in the Brattleboro Reformer? I looked at the website. There is no location for us to post it other than like in a news item. So I don't know if you want to consider that one or if we wait for the new website designs.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the administrative assistance report?
I make a motion.
I'll approve it.
You want a second, Mike?
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. I'm also gonna go to the presentation they have afterwards for the animal control, so I'll be there the whole afternoon. I did email Jess Perrin at the Sheriff's Department and let her know.
Okay, great.
Anyone else have anything?
Would you,
That's the job posting?
I will get that 1 second. We'll keep that one for last.
Oh, okay.
will you explain what the designated employer representative trainer was? I don't.
The designated employer representative is the one that facilitates all the commercial vehicle requirements, whether it be the alcohol, tobacco. We have to register with the federal motor carrier, which is a federal government thing. It's not just in Vermont. And they keep track of everybody that has a CDL license, whether they're expired, whether there's been issues with drug testing or negatives or whatever. So when we hire somebody, we can go to that registry and we can do a background check, which is a requirement for us to have a new employee for the highway department. And part of the new requirements is that our current CDL drivers have to go onto the portal with me, which allows me to obtain that information if we ever require an audit or something like that. We have it accessible to us.
Okay.
And that's a completely confidential file. Nobody can see it but me, because I inherited that from Shannon when she got, when she left the position.
So Jay, you'll make sure your employees stop in with Juanetta to get this done?
Yep.
Thank you.
You said you weren't ready yet, is that right, or are you now?
Anytime between now and the middle of July. I mean,
Okay.
you could send one over in a week, or, you know, whatever your schedule allows would be great.
Can we put a date on that says by July 12th?
That's a
That
Friday.
gives them a few weeks.
Yep.
Perfect. Does that work for you?
Sure.
And that's just before the middle of July?
Yep, that sounds great. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, now we can discuss the highway position. Ann?
I just was wondering where Jay used to publish it. I thought that when it was looked up, we found out we're supposed to, according to our personnel policies, we're supposed to post it in the Brattleboro Reformer and on our website. So I just want to make sure that we actually do those things.
We certainly can. It was discussed at the May meeting, and the classified ads through VLCT doesn't cost us anything. And it's a portal that Jay uses quite frequently. And it was brought up at that meeting to go ahead and start there first to see if we got any responses.
I just,
So the question is just moving on. And even though Jay might use that portal, I'd be surprised if people looking for a job would think to go there.
A lot of CDL drivers that are already employed at other towns do use that site, or Foreman's, looking for other places too.
I'm just wondering if it's part of our personnel policy, why it wasn't put to the Brattleboro Reformer as well, since it's part of the policy to go ahead and do that.
It was discussed and I wasn't informed to do that.
But it's already a policy that was in place, so I just don't understand. That's my question is,
Okay.
since we have a policy in place to go ahead and go ahead and use the policy and post it on the Reformer. And it can go, could ask Bauman where it could go on the website so that it's accessible. I do happen to know that there's one application out there, that's all I know. I don't know what the status is of it, I just know that there's one out there.
Okay. I will place the ad with the Reformer tomorrow.
So that would be great, thank you.
Yeah,
Can talk to Bauman about getting it on the town website, please.
absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else for the administrative assistance report? Hearing nothing, all those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, ayes have it. Thank you so much, Juanetta.
You're welcome.
And we have the planning commission here tonight with a committee report and also a short-term rental draft. The floor is yours.
Working draft, did you all get it? Working draft.
Yes.
I mean, emphasis on working draft, it's certainly not a final draft by any means. I think we're mostly just looking for some kind of feedback. Is this what the select board is kind of looking for? Is this the direction we want to go? It's strictly a registration, it's strictly short-term rentals, not long-term rental registrations. Some towns do both. We didn't feel that we wanted to delve into complete rentals, just short-term ones. It's a bit of a conglomeration of the short-term rental ordinances of several other towns, tailored to the way that we felt it might be most appropriate. But we'd be happy to hear some feedback as to, is this what you're looking for?
Anyone like to start?
I'm still skimming through.
So they're like on the short-term rentals, instead of, you're saying the Airbnbs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing is, the whole thing is, this whole thing is, it's kind of hard to compete because people's taxes are going up so and everything else that, the Airbnb pays these guys a lot more money than the short term. I mean, and then houses that usually Airbnb aren't something that you're going to put a short time rental in anyways, or the long time rental, with full time. But, I tell you, half the problem right now, I think with a lot of people renting to long term. People get in these houses, they make a hell of a mess, and you can't get them out. It's an act of God to get them to leave. They don't pay, they don't have to do nothing. Everything's on their side. Screw you over.
And you're just talking long-term rental? This is just the short-term rental.
Well, I'm just telling you the difference. I think that's why you're getting so many people go with Airbnb, because they're in and out of there in a week or two or maybe a month. They get their money, they get out, they don't destroy the place. I'm not saying everybody does, but I can see why a lot of people are doing it instead of, why people are doing short-term rentals. And like I said, people's taxes are going up. I don't know what happened today with the vote up to Montpelier, if they passed it or not, but I was looking at a hell of an increase in the homeowner's taxes all the way around.
Well, between the school tax and the property tax, it's gonna go up regardless.
Mike, this is Ann, I would just say that no one's trying to stop people from doing short-term rentals. People understand the financial pressures and reasons why people choose to go, to do a short-term rental. Just in terms of long-term rentals, there actually are a lot of people, even in Newfane, who do long-term rentals and have done it for years and have done it very successfully. I know there are a lot of concerns that people have, but there really are probably more success stories than there are horror stories, but you just don't tend to hear about the success stories so much. But as I understand this registry, it's really to try and, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the reason for the registry is just to try to get our hands around how many do we have. We just don't know. We know that housing has gotten much tighter, but that's been the case all over Vermont, all over the country really, but particularly tight in Vermont. It's been really bad in Newfane, but we just don't know sort of if we want to think about housing options, if we want to, let's say, have conversations with homeowners about if their short-term rental was appropriate as a long-term rental, what kind of support or help might they need to help to make that happen. We don't know who all the people are who have them. So I think that the value in a registry is just gathering information. I'm sure it will make everyone who has a short-term rental nervous. The idea that someone is sort of like keeping a record, what do you plan to do with it? I completely understand that feeling. But from my conversations with the folks at the planning commission, it really is just as a way to try to understand more about what's going on in our town, which I think is valid. If it turns out we don't need the information or we can't use the information or we're not doing anything with the information, we always have the choice in the future to stop maintaining it. But it certainly would be a help to get a picture of where we stand right now.
Yeah. I know. I know we know our need affordable housing, and I said that, it's just the whole thing is to make that kind of places for the kids,
Yep,
I feel sorry for the kids. I mean, a lot of people, these kids, once the parents and people got something to help them out, they can't afford it.
right, absolutely. Right.
I got a bunch of land around.
Mhm.
You know, gravel bank is going to be completed someday. I mean, I just put 20 places up in there for that kind of stuff. But according to the state, you can't do that, you know?
Realize
There's nothing hard. It gets to the point where the lower income people can't really afford to do any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but let's try to solve one problem at a time.
Right, one problem at a time.
and realize that
You're not wrong that it's complex, my goodness knows, it certainly is.
we can't tell people what they can and cannot do with their property. We can't tell them that they can't rent it out as a short-term rental. We can't force them to make it a long-term rental. All we can do with this ordinance is collect data about who has them, who owns them. We're collecting data about who the actual owner is. So if there is a problem in a facility for any reason, that we have a list with, this is the person responsible for this short-term rental. You know, if there's a fire or police are called, we know who to notify that this has happened. It's really more, this is more like a health and safety ordinance than anything
Statistics,
else.
safety.
It's gaining statistics and it's gaining information about what to do with these situations. These are people who come here for a weekend. They don't know anybody in town, we don't know them. Something happens, who do we notify that something's happened with the property?
Yeah, it's a
That's
good
where
idea.
we get an owner's name, and if they're an out-of-town owner, they don't live on the property, then this is a property manager who is responsible for the property.
Mhm.
And it has to be someone within an hour drive.
Yeah, that's
So
good information.
it's really, we can't do anything about the prices they charge, we can't do anything about making them make it a long-term rental. All we can do is collect some data about what's going on and are they complying with all the laws of the state of Vermont for being a short-term rental.
And who is responsible for going out and making sure that they are in compliance with all the laws?
And
That's a big question.
I think the interesting caveats in this are under section G about the septic capacity for the bedrooms. If it's
Yeah.
8 people or more, and having the fire safety inspection done. I think those are important steps if you're going to facilitate something that is a hotel, but that hotel meal, rooms and board tax, whatever it is. It's okay to skate under the line a little bit, but please do it well, because
Or not at all.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I read through the proposed ordinance very quickly. I need to read it more carefully. But you said something about that there needs to be a fire inspection. Did I hear that correctly or no?
Yes.
and that's for 8 or more people, so that would be a 3-bedroom house or larger.
So who would do
The
that?
parameters laid out.
Who would
An
do that?
inspection report with occupancy approved from the State of Vermont Division of Fire Safety for the requested short-term rental dwelling unit capacity.
And that's something they do and
It's basically the Airbnb requirements now. Airbnb requires them to have the tax license with the state.
Can you
and-
come to the mic, Jane? She can't hear you.
I said, this is basically the state of Vermont requirements now.
got it. Okay.
And if they're already doing the hotels and motels that we have around the state, there's no reason why they can't do short-term rentals as well. If it's a requirement.
There is
There
some question.
Fee that we are proposing for the town.
Sorry.
Come up to the mic.
What, Ann?
She can't hear you, and you can't hear her.
Is there a fee that is being proposed to charge?
The fee is up to the select board. It states that the fees will be at the discretion of the select board.
It
So
says
what is the
Article
other
5, I'll read it real quick. Article 5, a fee shall be paid to the town of Newfane with the submission of any short-term rental registration application or annual renewal. regardless of date of registration. The fee shall be in an amount as determined by the select board, which may from time to time modify this fee and may establish and adopt other fees related to the administration and enforcement of this ordinance. It may incorporate all such fees into a duly adopted fee schedule. So,
So, what are other, what do other towns charge?
1 second.
Come
What do
on,
other,
bring your.
That's what she was just about to answer, was what most
sorry,
towns
I'm
are
having a
charging.
hard time hearing her. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Come
we're
right on
processing.
in, Jane, and sit in your chair with you.
Sorry, I have a bad knee, so it takes me a while.
Thank you.
Most towns make a difference between hosted and unhosted short-term rentals. Hosted short-term rentals are a building where the owner lives there. And they're just renting out a little apartment in the garage, or they're renting out a bedroom in their home. And generally those, the fee structure is very low. The town
Like
doesn't
50 to
charge
100,
most.
like, what's,
I think it's like $40 in some one place. So it's very inexpensive because we're not trying to eliminate people who are living in their own home, renting out a bedroom to make a little extra money to pay the property taxes. We're not trying to burden them with any extra fees. The fee structure is generally set up so that the unhosted facilities, that's where you really charge them. You know, some towns are charging thousands of dollars a year for an unhosted party house rental. So it's up to you guys as to what you want to charge.
That's not a sufficient answer for me, honestly. With all the research that you guys did in the planning commission, I really would like to see some, if you would tell us, what are other towns in our area charging? How are they breaking it down, if they are? And then the planning commission to make a recommendation. I feel like we're coming in as not having studied this, not at all being at the level of expertise that you are and the other folks on the planning commission. I feel like you should be giving us a recommendation. We don't have to agree with it, but I do feel like you should be making one.
They're all over the roadmap.
Well,
Some
document
towns
that.
it's thousands of dollars, some towns it's tens of dollars. I
But
mean,
what about the towns
Totally up to what
around
we
in our
feel is
community?
The towns in our county would be the ones to look at specifically.
Wilmington and Dover. I mean,
we
we're
can't
not-
compare to
we're
them
not
because
compared to them.
we don't have a ski mountain right now.
No,
But they do
We
stay
don't.
here to go there.
But we do have greater than 50% of the homes in our town are second homes. They are all
are they all
possible.
short-term rentals?
Don't know.
We don't
but
know.
We don't know.
Because we don't know,
Yeah, because we don't know.
that's a possibility and a very real thing that we need to consider.
The last time we ever looked at any of the statistics from, there's a company called AirDNA that provides statistics from Airbnb and VPRO, and we were under 100 short-term rentals. Now, that was a couple of years ago. So,
Jane, regardless if it's all over the map, would you and the planning commission document what you've been able to learn about the fee structure in the other towns that are within as many of the towns that you're able to realistically document in our county, and then make a recommendation? I understand if you're saying you can't compare ourselves to Dover, but maybe Dummerston, or maybe Putney, or maybe this, or maybe that. That would be my request.
I think the fees is the last thing to worry about. What we want to know is this what you're looking for?
Yes.
Well, the fees are one of the things that I think we need to know. I agree we need to look at the whole report. But
I think the whole report is good, but I do think that having a fee structure so that we can base it on is helpful to approve.
Some of the towns don't give out the fee structures. I can't find it on the internet. I would have to go to the town to get it. A lot of them, it is all over the map. It is some of the Killington, Dover, these places that are charging thousands for unhosted. Is that something you want, unhosted versus hosted?
I think we have to look at
We have
both.
requirements for the business.
But something that they listen to this, and like you guys said, that we're looking at the short-term rental, we're trying to get I agree with what you're saying, if you had the names of the owner, so if something happens, you know who can get in contact with people, you know, emergency purposes or whatever, right? I could see it maybe doing all this stuff, so I think if it was me, a filing fee, I just think it's kind of outrageous. You think you're gonna charge somebody $1,000 just because they're gonna rent their house to somebody. I really believe I could see maybe collecting all this information like she's saying, and Jane's saying and stuff. I can see all doing all that kind of stuff, so you know who the owner is, and you know kind of people who rent and stuff. I can see maybe having a filing fee, so when that comes back to the town, that covers our expenses in town to file that information. But other than that, I don't know how you would ever charge for, how would you come up with a fee to charge them? Because let's say like this town right here, you know, we don't offer any services except for somebody going to school, which they wouldn't be using. The only thing we got is the road. We don't have a thing for garbage. We doesn't have a thing, but it wouldn't have a garbage impact on us because the people that rent the house would pay the garbage guy to take his garbage away. I think there's a lot of, the only thing I could see would be to travel our road, and which is, you know, like that's what that guy that's cutting the house is renting it. But I do see maybe you could put a fee on it that would cover any expenses to get all this information like Jane's talking about. So if something does go on, we know who to contact.
So, Mike, let me propose this to you. If someone has a 4-bedroom second home that they're renting out and they are 4 hours away and they have 10 people staying there overnight all winter long, we'll say 5 days a week, and they're charging $600 a night, do you think $1,000 is reasonable now?
What's that?
Yes, I do.
What's that?
I just gave you a scenario. If
No, I think that, yeah, go ahead.
if a local home has a 4-bedroom home and they are booked all winter long and they're charging $600 a night for their rental to preserve their own home, right?
Yeah, right.
$600 a night all winter long, do you think $1,000 is reasonable then?
No, I don't. No, the only thing I think that it should cover is the information that we gotta collect to file in our offices. That's where it's gonna go. Like I said, I don't see, like I said, it doesn't have an impact on the town as anything except for the use of that road.
But it does have an impact on our town regardless, because there's more people coming here, there's more people around, they're driving on our roads.
They impact the neighbors who are dealing with more traffic and different cars.
The impact, my biggest question about this whole process is that most towns have a short-term rental administrator to maintain the records, verify the records. Someone has to go out and, you know, verify that the facility is complying at times if there's a complaint of some kind.
And the town has to pay for
We
that.
have to pay for a short-term rental administrator. Now, the towns of Wellington and Dover and several others have paid for their short-term rental administrator by instituting the local option room tax. So that every time someone rents something from Airbnb, the state gets 9% and the town would get 1%. And that money is what they use to pay for their short-term rental administrator. We don't have the local tax option. We can now. And we don't have anyone on the staff that would administer it particularly as a sole job. I don't know, that to me, that's the biggest hole in this whole process. We can have an ordinance,
But who's gonna upkeep it?
who's gonna enforce it?
Right.
Enforcement is the biggest thing, for sure.
You know,
So it sounds like we need a little bit more information. It sounds like it looks good, but, right?
Well, I feel like there are pieces missing, which is it would be useful to have the information. I mean, if we were to collect it, but I think the operationalizing of it needs to be clarified. I mean, so you've got the ordinance, you've got what the policy would be, but now I think we need to understand how it would be in Newfane operationalize? Who's going to collect the data? Where is it going to be maintained? Who is it available to? I mean, if you're thinking that this is a resource, should someone have a problem, does that mean that the information needs to be available 24/7? Or is it something that can be locked in a cabinet and is only available if the town office is open? So I feel like you've done a great job putting together the ordinance, but I just think the operational piece of it, which is what the questions are that are coming up right now, are addressing. That is the piece that I would like to see. Because then I think then we'll have the whole picture. But right now, if we were to pass this, I mean, I presume we have to have hearings about it. Is that true?
For an ordinance, whenever.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of people would want to come talk about this. I think we'd have to be very clear on what exactly our process would be for who takes in the information, where is it kept, who is it accessible to, et cetera, and understanding that process. I'm sorry, Jane, I'm sure you wanted this to be over with, but I think there's just another piece of information that we need to complete the picture.
I think the biggest problem has been that we don't know what the intent is on the part of the town. Is the intent to enforce affordable housing? This is not an answer for that.
No.
We can't do anything with that.
I think the intent is solely to gather information so that we understand what the numbers are of homes that are being used for rental purposes. In this case, short-term rentals, both those people that are hosted versus unhosted, so that we have a better understanding of how our town is impacted by it. And I certainly understand what Mike is saying, that it's not like it's costing the town more money because we have more garbage collection or more this or more that, but we do have the issue of roads, we have the issue of speeding, we have the issue of louder neighbors, if you happen to have a very loud party next to you. So
I think a lot of towns, their biggest impact has been partly if they have a lot of hotels in the town, so places like Wilmington, Dover have a lot of hotels, they don't like being undercut by lots and lots of short-term rentals. We don't have that issue here, what do we got, one hotel in town? Two? I don't know that it's a huge issue here.
So that's three. Four columns.
Some columns isn't open there.
They will be. They're not open this moment.
They're not open at the moment. But the other impact on towns is that we're having fewer and fewer homes occupied by full-time families. And so where some towns have felt the loss of community because there's nothing but these transient people who come in for weekends and disappear again. And you don't know your neighbors anymore, and the sense of the town being a large community, it disappears. I think we want to be a community, so do we want to find out how many houses are now no longer residents who are staying? They're just people who are coming in for a fun weekend and they're gone.
I think this is my personal opinion. I think this is good, and I do agree with Anne a little bit about finding a little bit more information about what other towns do for fees, and then thinking about who would be the administrator of said. Is it somebody we could tack on a little extra project if they wanted to, that's already working here, or hire somebody else, or, just to see, but I do think that other piece would be helpful so that we can really finish it off.
And the truly, completely unknown thing is the town going to institute a local tax option?
I think that's still being researched.
And if so, then you have a source of income to pay for a short-term rental administrator. So.
I think, Airbnb is, and other sites like that is very helpful. I use it myself when I travel, and I think Vermont just kind of woke up and realized how much of our housing is being used for it. And I'm not talking about just Newfane, I'm talking about the whole state. And now they're trying to put stuff in place. And I think that we need to keep looking at it actively, and seeing what the other towns around us are doing as well, because we want to have a sort of a matched principle. Since we don't have county government, we have to try to be the moderates ourselves, right? And that's where it's important that we kind of take those looks around to see what our most local towns are doing as well.
And it varies greatly.
Oh,
It just
sure.
depends on, if you're
So does the
Burlington,
statistics graph,
it's
I wanna see all of it.
yeah, it's very hard to find any consensus in any of these ordinances. Some of them are one pager, very quick, and some of them are dozens of pages long with tons of requirements.
Sure.
So that's kind of what we're looking for is this enough requirements? Is this sufficient? One of the requirements I know we've argued about was that one of the requirements is this is that every short-term rental be registered through an accredited website. So they can't just rent it on their own, they have to rent it through Airbnb or VVO or one of those kind of websites. We've argued about that.
Close.
No, but it's one of the things that we're not sure about. You know, the good side is that if it's on a registered site like that, if we ever institute the local tax option on rooms, then we will automatically get the money from the state. There isn't anything we're gonna have to go out and collect from any landowner, it's just all done through the software AV. So that's why we left it in at the moment. Is that desirable or not?
I think it would be, but we have to figure out how to implement it.
Yeah,
So with that being still under,
alright,
being researched and then wanting to have that other piece of information, what best you can get of it, and then come back, do we wanna put this on again for the next agenda item for the next meeting?
More time.
Or do you need it
I
like
think
mid-July?
it needs to be into July.
Well, our next meeting is July 1, so what, do you think July 15?
Yeah, I can make something to
July 15th?
And if you need more time, just let us know.
Okay.
And then we'll keep looking into that, because you said the VLCT needed us to ask them about the other part.
Say that again, Jeff, you asked me about what?
The one, the tax percent option,
I asked for Jane and I sent
Right.
out the response.
Yeah.
That's not a planning commission issue.
No.
We have no part of it.
so I think we need to talk about that, but I think we can, while we have other working proponents, we can.
I would just say, in coming back to us, if there are other issues that the planning commission debated whether to go this way or that way, it would be helpful to just lay that out for us so that we understand the decisions that you did make or those that you feel like still need to be made. For example, whether or not you should require that it be on, that the house has to be listed on a website.
Yeah, I mean, some of them,
You don't need to discuss it now, Jane, but I'm just saying,
there were a lot of individual ordinances that have things like bear-proof trash removal. I mean, we left a lot of that out. So.
Well, those are fine points, I think we can hit the fine points after we get done going through the major issues that we need to figure out, and fees and fine and stuff like that, and then go through and fine tooth comb it. Yes, Renetta?
I'm just wondering if this would be an issue that the zoning would be able to help with as far as.
We can invite them at the next meeting.
Newfane has a zoning ordinance where Townsend might not. How is that compatible when doing a new ordinance? How is that going to affect other people?
It's a good question.
Property wise.
Yeah.
I know Katie did some research for, the planning commission.
Yeah, what was that about?
It lists rental properties that are in the 3 villages and commercial properties, whether there's, vacant, overhead rental accessible,
Well,
like,
why don't you
like
have a
W-
conversation?
That was a different, I know what that was about. That was a different project, not related, not that it's not interesting, but it wasn't specifically related to the short-term rental. It was basically trying to find out more about rental properties in general, who had the capacity and who did not.
Well, I think compiling a little bit more information and we will revisit this full discussion on the 15th. And if you wanted to reach out to the zoning, that would be great. Otherwise, everyone's welcome to come back and have further discussion on the 15th of July. Does that sound good to everyone? And maybe Ann, you and I can talk about the tax percent option and then bring that back to the board. Great. Anything further? Let's keep working. Everyone's doing a great job. Any scheduled members of the public?
No, wait,
What?
oh yeah, sorry.
Unscheduled members of the public. Now you and Ann can have the floor and talk about the web design. Don't rush.
I apologize, I lost track.
Are you able to pull up the website design, Winetta, on Zoom?
Let me see if I can get it back up here.
We have the most amazing Austin Rice from BCTV who is available to help, who knows all about that kind of stuff.
Katie, do you want to take people
I
through
need
it?
to step away for a moment.
Do I need to what?
You want to take people through the design?
Sure.
Is that right?
You have the floor.
I realized I never sent this to you, Ann, and I apologize.
What is it?
The complete list of the businesses that we brainstormed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Maybe you should just do a full screen. Very slow.
It's definitely needing for, here?
What's this one? 50 page. Yeah, okay. That's probably.
I-
Do.
I minimize this one, and then they won't see that, right?
They're only seeing this window, so that's how it looks up there.
Okay.
All right. You take a minute. Thank you, Jan, for all your hard work.
You're in charge.
For a moment, I won't let it go to my head.
All right.
Here, okay, Jane.
All right, we ready?
I have it up before you, Ann, can you see it?
You can, thank you, yes.
Okay.
Start talking about it. So Ann and I have been working on this since our last meeting, or 2 meetings ago. And she and I met and put together, she made this incredible PDF that has all of the information. So if you go to the second page, this is part one of a two-step process. Please, for now, tell us, I'm going to part two, to the next page. Great. So this is a document that is just information. It is not the actual design. It is something called information architecture, and it is how the pages will flow, but not what they're gonna look like. Right now, this is just lists and working process. Have we missed any types of content that you should be here? Is there anything here that you think doesn't belong? Does the type of information on each page look right to you, and should any content be moved to a different page? Should things be grouped together differently? Are there any other thoughts that come to you as we go through this? To read these pages clearly, the underlined item indicates it is a hyperlink. Will you scroll down one page, Juanetta?
One page.
Mm-hmm. Okay. An underlined item indicates a hyperlink. It will eventually open to the page or a PDF document. The orange box that you will see through this describes how that section of the page will function, and an arrow indicates which page you are on in the drop-down menu. So, with that said, let's move to the home page. The home page will have a welcome to Vermont, welcome to Newfane, where it will have all of the latest things that are happening right there when you first log in. It will have a little blurb about Newfane's history and another blurb about today's statistics, population, etc. We're going to add a little link for the weather, so the weather pops up. Contact information will be at the bottom as a footnote. And you will see down the left side of the page, all of the individual offices, documents, committees and appointments, the community, how to get involved, and a town directory with all of our contact links as well. We have given a few different options for a lot of these pages because people think about stuff differently, so they go about obtaining information differently. So some of it is duplicitous. Recent reports and useful links will be job openings, ARPA funding, Jeff's creating spaces design proposal, and emergency management information right there at the top, and then a calendar of upcoming things in the town that will be updated as we go. Next page. More detail in the home page. Let's see.
So you're giving us like separate options of what it could look like.
I'm not.
This is all
I
one,
got 2 pages here.
just showing the difference between the sections being closed or open. So on the
Oh, I
first
see.
page, you saw town
The
offices.
tabs are open on the
Okay.
side in
Alright.
this view. If you look at the left-hand column,
Yeah.
the tabs for committees and appointments are now open, so you can see all of our committees and everything in our community section, which includes businesses, things to do in Newfane, resources for new people, things to do with kids, things like that. And then the town offices also, each section is listed there.
Okay.
Moving on to the select board page. This will have about the select board, what we do, function, like how the select board functions in Vermont, because we have to anticipate that people don't know that. Our administrative assistant will be listed there, and her regular hours. and phone number. And then select board members and select board projects are both links that will take us to a new page with individual information. The select board meeting schedule will be found here. The copy of the report from the recent town report will be there. Job openings will be listed there. And then a few how-do-Is, or FAQs. On the right-hand side of the screen, there will be our select board minutes, our minutes from prior years, links to the meetings online, and the most recent agenda or meeting and rules of procedure, how that works, how we go about doing our meetings. Anne recommends that we only go back 5 years online because we have all of that stuff here in-house. Select board page, change my name. I know this is coming from what's currently on.
Which was asked to be changed on the.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Right.
Angela.
No, that's all right. I asked that it be changed on the website, and I guess.
It was my fault.
It's okay.
It's, this is about each of us individually. A little blurb, basically what we did to get when we were going for our spots. So email address, what our term limit is, maybe a photo, and a little bit about us. Yay. Next page.
Moving right along.
Projects page. Current select board projects that we keep talking about on a regular basis. Traffic calming, Jeff's project, Anne's project with the ARPA stuff. Anything that's coming up that we are working on is going to be here. And some extra stuff.
So I went through the current town website and looked at every single page to make sure we weren't losing data, and that anything that we had on the current site, I found a place for on the new site. That doesn't mean we necessarily want to keep them. So at some point we may decide that, before we finalize this, we may decide we don't want to keep all the info on the Charter Review Committee. Here, it's from like 12 years ago, or the Records Restoration Committee. I just didn't want to drop any data without us making a conscious choice to drop it. That's why you see some of these, what probably look like weird things.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you, Anne. Next page, job openings page. And useful links like Newfane's personnel policy. Yay. Next page, town offices, the town clerk page. These are going to all seem the same. About the town clerk, how the town clerk's office functions. The town clerk herself and her hours that she works and how to reach her. Services that she provides, her recent blurb that she wrote in the town report will be linked here. And then an FAQ question list for her as well. On the right side of the page, it will have all of the updated election information, the most recent votes that were calculated, etc. And then useful links, which would include links for obtaining birth certificates, obtaining death certificates, the Green Mountain Pass application, the marriage license application, voter registration form, etc.
One thing that Katie and I talked about was that on all of these different town office pages, you'll see that there are links to documents. And so we thought it was useful to have them both for the office that handles that link, as well as keeping it in, when we get to it, you'll see the tab forms, documents, and reports, to also have it there, because people might not know where to look for documents. They could look in a general place like a forms, documents, and reports, or they could go directly to the specific office that would be responsible for it.
Right.
So they're all pretty much the same, having basic information about their specific offices and
Correct.
what they provide for services, and a link to that if you need it.
Correct. Yep,
Good.
and that goes through all the way through zoning into the roads page. And the roads page, Juanetta processes things like the excess weight permits for fleet and single trucks going through our bridges, I believe, and maybe some of the roads too. But people looking for that stuff will probably go to the roads to look for that, so we're including it there too, things like that. And I asked Jay about FAQs, and he was like, everybody asks such specific questions, and I'm not sure if I can answer this well. But one thing that we wanted to include, and I haven't seen it, and maybe it's on the homepage, was we discussed having a place where upcoming big projects, like the Loop Road project, like the Depot Road culvert.
It should be all under I think all the road projects should be highlighted under the road foreman's page. Because if you're gonna go onto the website, I would personally, as a person, go to the roads page, because that is a road.
One would think.
I forgot to do that. You did mention.
That's okay, but that's an important piece, and Jay was on board with it. He thought that was a great idea too, and I said, we don't need specific dates until a couple of weeks ahead of time, but if you know by the spring that we're gonna have 4 projects that shut down roads, we need to be able to put that up to give people the heads up.
Not the day of.
Right. So that's a very helpful piece that will hopefully streamline his need to be on the phone at least 1 iota. The town directory page.
Change the animal control officer to Ashley Pinger.
Yep, all of that stuff needs to change. Again, this is just basic, so that you get an idea of what's gonna be listed there.
Okay.
And that continues on 24-hour emergency services, including things like domestic violence and general helplines and runaways and temporary shelters, etc.
And our notice about what to do in an emergency in the town of Newfane, would that go here somewhere?
I hand that currently on the
That's on the
homepage,
homepage.
but it probably should. And
We could probably link it there too, why not?
I'm sorry, put it where?
We could probably link it there too, why not? If people are looking for 20-hour emergency services, our statement maybe should be at the top or on the side or something.
I post it in the event before any storm everywhere I can, anyway. Oh yeah, emergency management. Great. Cool. And then more people.
Schools. Justices of the peace, we've got schools, and that's an unfilled, not complete.
And again, this is everything that's currently on the town website.
Right. Yep. Our information, one more time. Forms and documents page, again, hasn't been completely filled out, but it gives you a look at what potentially will be there.
Oh, there it is, how to prepare for an emergency. Good, good, I like it. Did you guys talk to Bauman yet at all?
Yes,
It's not available until a couple weeks from now, and we will be in touch with him then.
we did share the document with him. He looked it over. He had a number of questions, fairly technical, that I didn't quite have answers to yet. But we said that we'll talk to him when he's has some more time available. So in about 2 weeks, we said
Oh, great.
we'll place with him and sit down.
Did he like it?
He didn't say like or not like. He just said, yeah.
Okay.
So all of the committees have their own pages as well. Again, this gives them a space to have upcoming events. It gives them a space to have all of that stuff and all of their meeting notes and their most recent statement in the town report. And I can take you through that to the Newfane businesses page. Now, currently, there is a very short list of Newfane businesses. We have done some great brainstorming and have a much larger list that I will organize and be subbing into this. And then continue to the next page, the things to do in Newfane page. We'll have some of our annual
I'm
events.
sorry, just before that, if you could go back to 36, page 36, one page up.
Yep, Newfane businesses page.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, mention one more thing, just make sure people are okay with it. The idea that we might have a picture and a short description of a Newfane business, so we could do, not quite advertising, but to make this site a little bit more engaging with pictures and various types of information that would interest people to spend a minute and take a look, get to know a little bit about our businesses.
Yeah, yeah. I think a slideshow of businesses, pictures would be a quick way to get people looking at the ones that are obvious. A lot of these that we've listed are not obvious. They don't have a brick and mortar face, but they're still vital, like people who do landscaping and people who do
Willow. I know a lot.
Oh, I know.
I can brainstorm.
This is my list, so please add to it.
So I don't repeat myself. And things to do, anything, can you add the Newfane Village Union Hall music? And we have a website too for that. You
Is
can
that
add.
under Newfane Anew?
It's part of, yeah, it's a
Newfane,
Newfane Anew music at Union Hall. And we have a website as well. I can text that to you. Because we do music every second Saturday, it's mostly the second Saturday, there's only a couple times, like Heritage Festival, that it's been bumped to the third.
mm-hmm.
But we have performances booked through the end of the year,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
so I will get you further information on that and the exact title of it.
Great, thank you. Again, pictures, we like pictures too for all of these things.
Oh, and the flea market,
Yep, that's under businesses.
I'm just thinking things to do, but yeah, perfect.
Oh, yeah, again, duplicity, we like duplicity.
Historical Society. And also, Willow Inn, they have a lot of retreats and yoga things too.
They do.
Tom has a lot of stuff going on there, which is
And
great.
food.
Yes.
They have really good food.
I heard. But this is amazing, and I'll brainstorm and send you some of the businesses and stuff that I know of.
Yeah,
After I
thank you.
go over your list.
Yeah, I know, we sat here between.
Go back, Winetta, you're going too fast. Go back to page 38, please.
37.
No, 38.
38,
38.
resources for newcomers.
Resources for newcomers. So this will have some basic stats, where to go if you need to do some basic things, like how do you get rid of your garbage in a town that doesn't have any sort of garbage facilities? Correct. But,
I was stumped by that when I first.
rather than asking Facebook 8,000 times the same question,
That was so.
we will provide the answer. Things like landscaping and plow guys and folks that do services that help keep your house running are also important things to include in this sort of thing.
I know when the listers get a new sales, they send out a welcome packet with the same kind of information. This can be duplicated on their page too.
Yeah.
The garbage,
Yeah.
the snow plow, the other services that are offered. Yeah.
Okay.
What were you saying?
I didn't know if the listers did that. That would be great information to put here on this page as well.
Yeah.
Let's do
looks great. It looks great.
It keeps going. There's more.
Do you want me to go up?
No, I've lost track of what page we're on.
38.
39, next to last.
Things to do with kids. Where our parks are, where our jungle gyms are, what do you do with kids in the woods?
Well,
Because people like having destinations,
Daycares.
daycares. All of that's listed.
great.
Oh, and there's even a fun question. Nice question, Anne. How do we check for water quality? Well, there's this website. We're gonna tack it in here, so
The
you can
Watershed
check.
Alliance,
Mhm.
they check the area swimming holes.
A link for that here, a hyperlink for
I just
that.
saw an article on that,
Gloria's not doing it.
but there's a whole other group,
Oh, is it?
and I think they do go out and check. We'll have to look.
Or make sure that there is somebody doing it for our holes. That would be great.
Great job, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah. The last one is the get involved page, which is really important. Join a committee, submit your name for a town appointment, run for office, got a question, suggestion, complaint, who to direct it to. And then the most important part is, please consider volunteering for the Newbrook Fire and Rescue Department.
Thank you. We
You're
need that.
very welcome. I was insistent, and then something about the
Can you
poem.
do Newfane and New too, please? Newfane, community volunteers. NECD.
That would be join a community, right? Are you guys part of a committee?
We are our own nonprofit organization. Newfane and New Community Volunteers.
What about the PTO?
PTO. That would be under kids though, I think, right? Oh, well, no, it can duplicate here, yep. Anybody else think of other things that people need, that we need to drum up? What about like seasonal things like Green Up Day?
That's part of your committee. Those are one of our committees.
Do we have a Green Up Day committee?
We do, we have a Green Up Day coordinator
So-
who then,
What we considered a committee as far as we're concerned is the people who provide a report to the town report.
we have a coordinator, but I don't
No,
think they provide a report, but that should be part of the committee.
So,
I would say, but.
I'm gonna write it in here for now, just so I don't forget. Yeah,
That's great.
so that's our foresight, and what we're thinking is perhaps something that is easy to read. It's gotta be ADA compliant. It's gotta be, what are the other parameters? I considered when we're designing it to use our Newfane green shade that we have as a color for the tabs and website, and then the rest of it's kind of still up to decide, but I think it would be nice to incorporate our beautiful shade of green.
Good. So
And-
now you're just waiting to talk to Bauman and then go forward?
We'll talk to Bauman, will be the next step, to get all of his thoughts. And then the next piece would be, there are two parts that need to happen. One, you need to get a good design, and then you need to implement it. So definitely, if Bauman is still up for it, we would love him to implement it. But then the question is just thinking about the design, how we want to get the design done. Is that something that Bauman wants to make suggestions for, or he might prefer that we go out and hire a designer, a specific website designer to do that work? I don't know. That's a conversation to have with him. And so once we've done that, we'll be able to come back to you. So probably not the next meeting, but the one after that, we should be.
Great.
able to
Middle
come
of
back.
July.
July 15?
Around then,
Sounds good. Excellent. So anything further on the website design?
no, but What do you all think?
I think it's great. Thank
Mike,
you for
what do
your
you
hard
think?
work. I don't think it's-
It looks fresh and exciting, you know?
Mike, are you still with us?
Yeah,
Hey, did you get a chance to look at that?
no, that sounds good.
It'll hopefully be a lot more, easy to navigate going forward, so that folks coming to our town can navigate it easily with their cell phones and with a traditional computer, as well as people who have sight or hearing impairment will be able to navigate our website as well. And those are exciting things.
Are you thinking for the photographs doing, like a photographer, or like somebody submits photos for, say, the highway crew or the select board?
I don't know that we've got that far, but that's a good question.
I think also we'll want to get the input from the designer to see what they would recommend would work best.
Work in progress, but I think this is a great start and you guys have done a great job and I look forward to hearing what Bauman has to say as well.
I hate to ring somebody else's bell, but Katie Bristol did her husband's Haverlack Tree website page. It's phenomenal. So she has talent if you need to tap into somebody else.
Great. All right, anything further on the website? Design and discussion. So now we will move right along to old business and the Municipal Planning Service Climate Change Mitigation and Resilience. Is that this statement of work?
Yes.
Between the Wyndham Regional Commission and the Town of Newfane for Municipal Planning Services. It is agreed by and between the Wyndham Regional Commission here and after called the Regional Commission, and the Town of Newfane here and after called the Town, that the Regional Commission shall assist the town in providing services for the town in accordance with steps outlined in attachment A.
Stop sharing.
So this is basically a contract to keep working with them with whatever help we need from them, correct? Yes?
Or is this done now because we
Oh,
didn't make that
Here we
first?
have attachment A, Newfane French Cabin Road Flood Resilience and Water Quality Scope of Services, May 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. The town of Newfane seeks to identify, scope, engineer, and implement potential solutions to address the undersized culvert number 1 on French Cabin Road as well as water quality issues. A hydraulic study was completed on December 4th, 2023. The field observations and measurements indicate that the existing structure does not meet current hydraulic standards or VTRAN stream crossing standards. The existing structure constricts the channel width, resulting in an increased potential for debris blockage and structure failure. There have been multiple flooding incidents on this road over the last 10 years. Currently, the 48-inch corrugated metal pipe crossing over South Westboro Brook only provides a waterway opening of 12.6 square feet. This structure results in water overtopping the road just above the 10-year event. You guys can read the rest. So this goes along with what Jay was saying in his report, that it was approved, correct? Here it is. Oh, no, I misspoke my words.
I thought we received something that said that we didn't get approval for well, we don't have it printed here.
That was through Gretchen,
But
through
that
a
was
different,
for French Cabin Road. We did not get that.
That was to get funding to do the work on
I don't understand how this differs. If they wanna work with us, this is a contract that goes through December.
but she
But
was
we-
not through Wyndham Regional Commission, she was through a different
But I think we need to have, I don't have a copy of the document, so I'm not sure what it is we're looking at, but isn't it something that we need Jay to review with us?
I think so. Let me see if I can find.
Lynetta, could you forward a copy to me?
Yes. It came in this week. Now I just have for last week. Do you remember what day? Anyone?
I think when Gretchen came in and we asked her about it, that was a grant through a different, it wasn't through WRC.
That was through a program, a state program that was being called MTAP.
So this is from WRC with their assistance to try and get that project done, is my understanding.
Okay,
A scope of services through them so they can help us figure out how to get help.
do we want to ask, do we want to call Jay and just ask him to jump on for one more minute? Or can we,
Yeah, because I'm not sure what to do with
I don't
this.
think any of us know what we're looking at.
Oh, here it says, the Regional Commission reserves the following dollar amount of municipal technical assistance program funding for all services performed under this agreement as part of the MTAP unless amended.
But we didn't get the MTAP, so I'm not sure what this is.
Well, I'm gonna call Jay right now.
What is the date on that document, by the way?
Hello?
Hi,
Jay.
April 25th. So Jay, we're looking,
Across.
yeah, we're looking at a form right now, a statement of work between the Wyndham Regional Commission and the town of Newfane for municipal planning services. It's for the French Cabin Road flood resilience and water quality agreement for services to help with French Cabin Road.
Yep,
What do you know about this? I thought we were denied the MTAP grant.
we were,
So
What is
do
this
you not
for?
need to sign this contract?
I wouldn't think so anymore, because that's kind of gone now, I would think.
Okay, we were just trying to clarify if it was something separate than the MTAP was just
No.
a.
That was the same thing.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that.
No, I don't, I think
You don't know the money?
is if we get included in it, so I think not.
Okay,
Okay.
so this just dragged on and kept getting put on and we didn't need it to be put on.
Nope, I think you're good.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Sure, see ya.
Talk to you later, bye.
Okay.
Okay, so moving right along. We'll go to FEMA updates for the buyout of the South Newfane store. Ann, the floor is yours.
Yes. So things are moving along. We, got the appraisal done of the property. Came out extremely low. I was very nervous about whether or not the homeowner would accept it. But to my delight, he has accepted it. We are going through the various, paper gathering for the, actual closing. We maybe would actually close in July if everything continues moving forward. Melissa and I meet on an every 2-week basis with the folks from Vermont Emergency Management who are overseeing it, just to make sure we're dotting every I and crossing every T, and we're terrified of screwing something up. So we've been really, really diligent in making sure that we do everything correctly. There is a document that is waiting for your signature, Angela. You have it there, Winetta, for her. It is a document that has already been signed by the homeowner. And it's just one of the authorizations that they require. So, sorry, do you have the document there? In the moment, I forgot the name of the document.
The FEMA voluntary transaction agreement?
Yes, thank you very much. So that's the one that
okay.
the homeowner has signed it. I'm making a motion for Angela to countersign it on behalf of the town.
Great.
Is there a second?
How much was the buyout?
Say it again.
How much is the buyout?
65,000.
How much?
65,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of,
And would you start from the top and just say the first like 3 sentences that you said, because we were all shuffling and we couldn't hear you?
about the project or about the document?
That he had agreed to the project, but
He
will you
agreed to
say
the
it
price,
except
yes.
your excitement? We missed it.
So we had an assessment done. It took a couple of weeks. Remember the last time I was bringing this up, I was asking for permission to hire a particular assessor. They really did an excellent job. And their report came back, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I honestly was shocked at how low the assessment was. And Melissa and I met with the assessor and said, I can't present this to the homeowner until you explain this to me. Why is it so low? So we went over that with the assessor and he explained all the reasons. He explained the fact that general stores are not selling, that there was one, when they look at comparables, one was sold recently for $10,000 because there's just no market for it, right? It's really a market that seems to have collapsed. So given the state of disrepair in the two properties, and the fact that there is such a low, and the fact that it's in a floodplain, and the fact that there is such a low demand for these kind of properties, the assessment came in as low as it did. And I personally was in a state of terror that the homeowner would not accept it because it was too low. But he wrote me back almost immediately and said that he accepted it. So I was relieved. And we then have been moving forward with the process. We've gotten his signature on the various documents. That's why Angela needs to countersign that particular FEMA document. We are working with our lawyer on the moving towards the closing. So we've pulled together all the closing documents, or the lawyer putting them together. Everything that we do, we meet with and submit it to the legal person at Vermont Emergency Management so that she's completely apprised of everything we do. I had her look over the document that Angela's going to sign before I sent it in to be signed, just to make sure we're not missing anything, because
Right.
FEMA's really, I mean, I thought I was anal, but oh my God, FEMA takes it to a whole new level. So I think we're in pretty good shape here. If everything continues to move smoothly, then we might actually be able to go to a closing in mid-July, which would be great.
Excellent.
Wow.
Great
Yeah.
job, Ann.
Thank you.
So there's a motion on the table for me to sign the FEMA voluntary transaction agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Do you want to do this
Aye.
unattached? It's not stapled, that way I can scan it better.
Aye.
You let them, if you could
Abstain.
just, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm finishing them. I got interrupted. All right.
But where you sign,
Go
where
ahead.
you sign it, there was a place for the homeowner to get a witness to witness his signature. I don't remember if there's a requirement for a witness for your signature or not. They didn't want a notary, they just wanted a witness.
No, it just says signature of seller and then town of Newfane agent.
Okay, great. Thank you. So,
There's 2 places for me to sign, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Juanetta, if you could then scan that and send it to me, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
And do you have the assessment that was done? Do you have the documents? Could you share them with me for the file, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that's moving right along. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your work on that. And now to ARPA funds.
So, the only thing that we need to discuss in terms of the ARPA funds is that Melissa brought, forward to us that we need to pass a motion just designating the remaining ARPA funds that will be moved into the general fund, and that they are to be restricted for the following purposes: 15,000 for town beautification, 3,690 as the bylaw match. That's the portion that the town pays. 9,500 for the Williamsville Hall generators, which is, we had approved that purchase, but it had not yet been purchased at the time that we moved the funds. And then the remaining amount, which was 150 for the revolving loan, or whatever we end up deciding to do with it, plus the accumulated interest. So it's now $167,235.91. So I make a motion. What? I make a motion to approve that breakdown, yes, that, and moving those
Second.
into the general.
Great. We have a motion to approve this for the ARPA funds and a second discussion. Katie?
I wanted to just remind you that we have the thoughts out and people are still actively working on trying to build the Williamsville sidewalks back up. And they had requested some fiscal ARPA help to do that, and we had sent them back out to try to collect estimates. And I'm not sure why we need them to provide us with estimates. That part didn't make sense to me because we, the town, are not authorizing it, as far as we're not requested, anyway.
Well, we asked Williamsville Hall when they wanted to do music for their estimates for ARPA funds. We asked Newfane Union Hall for their estimates on getting music stuff.
Right.
We also asked for
The trees, the trees, the town forest, we asked for estimates.
we asked
for
Greg
that.
Record to get an estimate to get the clearing done.
Right.
So I think it's important to have estimates so we know what we're looking at.
Okay,
We can't just award money when we don't know what we're looking at.
but we don't have to be as, like, finicky as saying we need 3 bids. Or we need, because that's what they're under the
We just
impression.
asked them, they came in and asked for an amount, and we asked for an itemized list of what they were spending that money on. So that it was kept, I would say kind of kept track of and
Right,
so.
they are having a very hard time getting anyone to call them back with any kind of estimate because
sure.
it's such small work. So how did they move forward? And how
Now that's
did
for
we
rebuilding
reserve some money
sidewalks?
for them? Pardon?
For rebuilding the sidewalk?
Right, so that currently the sidewalks are contiguous from the corner of Timpson Hill Road up, I think it's 500 feet, and they just want to rebuild them, and all of those are owned by a single landowner, and it shouldn't be any issue to do that. But it will help everybody, so they're requesting some financial compensation to put that in place.
Yeah, didn't I thought I heard Jason some earlier, they're looking at that grant for the sidewalks of Williamsville.
I thought that was for Newfane Village.
That's for Newfane Village. Williamsville has
I thought
not
you
been
were-
addressed yet, and it's still not being considered. So in the meantime, the landowner would like to do this and has come to us and spoken, and I just wanted to remind you about that before we finish this revolving loan dollar amount.
And can I just make it clear that the Newfane Village sidewalk grant is through V-Trans? It's not coming from the Newfane Village, so it's through V-Trans for the Route 30 corridor. That's why it's only right there.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Is it Mr. Julian?
It is Mr.
Does
Julian.
he have any information that he can bring to the board?
I will stop by and ask him and come back and hopefully
So
bring
can-
him back with me.
When does this need to be done? By July 1st?
The signing of this document?
Yeah. For our,
Motion, it needs to happen now, but even if we say that we have to designate what we're moving it to, we can change our minds later and say we want to take money out of this fund and use it for something else. We do that in our budget all the time.
but we could do that with the revolving loan. We could take some out of that if we need to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to remind you because this thing is out and people are actively working on it. That's what I
It's good to
wanted to
know.
remember
Can you
to
ask them to come in for an update on it? please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Will do.
Instead of just getting something, ask them if they'll come in for,
No,
on
no, I,
July 5.
on the 5th?
Oh wait,
Sure.
sorry,
They
July
have something to report.
July 1.
is our July meeting.
Or at least have a clear idea of where they're, what,
Yeah, if they could
An
come in
update.
and give us an update on where they're at and what's going on, that would be awesome. Sidewalk update. I would like to hear from them to see. That'd be great. So there's a motion on the table, further discussion on that? Okay, so all those in favor of designating the remaining ARPA funds as they are laid out, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, ayes have it. Great.
Renetta, would you just let Melissa know?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Personnel policy changes,
not yet.
okay. One thing that we forgot to talk about at the administrative assistance report is the request to have a meeting with folks about an update on training.
Yes.
My thought is because you and Jeff did the last personnel review, and that was a request that came out of that review, if you could schedule, if you would be willing to schedule a time
Yeah,
to
I will
check in on that.
try to get something worked up with Jeff. Hopefully we can do that before the next meeting. I'd
Are
like to
you-
think that we can do that.
Okay with that, Ann?
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Say that again.
That's right, having Jeff and Katie do an update as far as their recommendations from the last review.
That'd be great. I appreciate that.
Mike, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think we ought to get it over sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's going on quite a
Well,
while.
Juanetta had requested either a meeting or an executive session, so it's come down to a meeting and then
Yeah.
report back. Are you okay with that, Juanetta?
Sure.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else before us that needs to be addressed?
Is
Have any correspondence?
it just the two of you doing pay orders? Do we need to make a motion to give you permission?
Yep, I'm getting right to that after correspondence. Thanks, Ann.
No correspondence.
Oh, no letters today. All right, so is there a motion for Katie and I to do pay orders?
I make such a motion.
Second?
Second.
I will,
Okay, either one, your choice, Juanetta, free choice.
I go with Mike and then Ann.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, ayes have it. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I'd like to thank everybody for all of their hard work and helping to keep the town of Newfane going. Thank you and take care.
bye.
Aye.